November 3rd, 2025, 11:15 a.m. EST. I was analyzing COMEX warehouse reports when I noticed something that made me call my contact at the London Bullion Market Association immediately. In the past 180 days, 67.2 million ounces of physical silver had quietly disappeared from Western vaults, while paper silver trading volume had increased 340%. But here's what made this extraordinary. None of the silver leaving Western custody was being sold to Western buyers. My LBMA contact confirmed what the data suggested. "Claude," he said, his voice unusually strained, "we're seeing unprecedented physical withdrawal patterns. Chinese and Russian buyers are taking delivery of every ounce they can source, but they're not selling a single ounce back into our markets. It's like they're operating vacuum cleaners that only suck in one direction." The mathematics were staggering. While banks flooded futures markets with paper contracts representing 500+ million ounces of synthetic silver, actual physical metal was flowing east at rates never seen in modern commodity history. The Western silver market had become a sophisticated theater where paper abundance masked physical scarcity until the day when someone would demand delivery and discover that the silver had already left the building. What I uncovered in the following investigation revealed the most systematic wealth transfer in commodity market history, executed through the oldest financial weapon known to mankind: selling promises you cannot keep, while your competitors accumulate the real assets that back those promises. What this really means: the Great Silver Heist. The physical silver drain represents more than commodity trading or international commerce. It represents the systematic transfer of real wealth from nations that create paper claims to nations that accumulate physical assets, executed through market manipulation so sophisticated that the victims finance their own wealth destruction. The paper abundance illusion. Every day, COMEX and LBMA trade paper contracts representing 50-80 million ounces of silver, more than half of annual global production. This creates the appearance of abundant supply that keeps prices suppressed while industrial users and investors believe they can access silver whenever needed. But paper trading has no relationship to physical availability. Banks can create infinite paper claims through computer entries, while physical silver remains constrained by geology, mining capacity, and refining limitations. The physical scarcity reality. While paper markets show abundant supply, physical silver inventories have been systematically drained. COMEX registered silver down 64% from January 2024 levels London Vault holdings, down 52% according to LBMA data. ETF inventories down 38% as institutional investors demand physical delivery. Dealer inventory down 71% according to wholesale distribution reports. The silver exists on paper but not in physical form, creating a disconnect that becomes catastrophic when buyers demand actual delivery. The directional flow pattern. Physical silver movements show consistent east-to-west patterns with minimal reverse flow. Chinese silver imports up 340% year over year through unofficial channels. Russian silver accumulation estimated 200+ tons annually through state purchases. Indian silver demand record levels. Despite higher local premiums, Middle Eastern sovereign purchases significant increases through Swiss intermediaries. Meanwhile, Western silver flows show only outbound movements with negligible inbound replacement from mining or recycling. The manipulation mechanism. Large banks suppress silver prices through coordinated paper selling that has no relationship to their physical silver holdings. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and HSBC dump massive paper contracts during thin trading sessions. Algorithmic trading amplifies initial selling to create cascading price declines. Media coverage focuses on paper price movements, while ignoring physical supply data. Margin requirement increases force leveraged long positions to liquidate regardless of fundamentals. This manipulation keeps prices artificially low, while Eastern buyers accumulate maximum physical ounces per dollar spent. Historical pattern layer. How physical drain destroys paper systems. History provides clear examples of how systematic physical accumulation has destroyed paper-based pricing systems, often triggering sudden price resets that eliminate decades of artificial price suppression overnight. The Hunt brothers. Silver accumulation, 1979 to 1980. Nelson and William Hunt quietly accumulated 200 million ounces of physical silver, while COMEX maintained paper prices through unlimited short selling. The Hunts understood that paper markets could suppress prices temporarily, but could not create physical silver that didn't exist. When the Hunts began demanding delivery on their futures contracts, COMEX faced mathematical impossibility. They had sold more silver than existed in deliverable form. Even with emergency rule changes that banned new long positions, silver exploded from $11 to $49.45 because physical scarcity overwhelmed paper manipulation. The key lesson: Patient accumulation of physical assets while competitors create paper claims eventually leads to complete price reset when delivery demands expose the fraud. The London gold pool collapse, 1968. 8 central banks coordinated to suppress gold prices through massive paper selling, while industrial and investment demand exceeded mine production by 1,500 tons annually. The pool successfully maintained artificial $35 gold prices for 7 years through concentrated short selling. But when France and other nations demanded physical delivery of their gold at suppressed prices, the pool discovered they had sold more gold on paper than existed in their vaults. The system collapsed in March 1968. Gold immediately doubled to 70 plus per ounce, and central banks learned that paper manipulation has limits when physical demand overwhelms available supply. The palladium squeeze, 2000-2001. Russian supply disruptions created physical palladium shortages, while paper markets continued trading normally around $500-600 per ounce. For months, futures prices remained artificially suppressed, while physical palladium became impossible to source at any price. When the paper market finally acknowledged physical reality, palladium exploded from $600 to $1,000 per ounce in weeks. Automakers were forced to pay whatever prices palladium dealers demanded because paper contracts couldn't deliver the physical metal needed for production. The pattern. Paper markets can suppress prices below physical market clearing levels temporarily, but they cannot create physical assets that don't exist. When physical accumulation reaches critical thresholds, price resets occur rapidly and violently as markets acknowledge scarcity that manipulation had temporarily hidden. The current silver drain follows this pattern exactly. Systematic Eastern accumulation, while Western paper markets maintain artificial price suppression through unlimited synthetic supply creation. Modern data layer, the mathematics of physical depletion. The scope of silver drain from Western custody becomes clear when you analyze vault movements, shipping data, and import statistics, rather than focusing on paper trading volumes that obscure the underlying physical flows. COMEX inventory depletion. Registered silver available for delivery has fallen from 102.3 million ounces in January 2024 to 36.8 million ounces in November 2025, a 64% decline in 22 months. But the depletion rate is accelerating. 18.7 million ounces withdrawn in the past 90 days alone, representing 51% of remaining registered inventory. At current drain rates, COMEX registered silver could fall below critical thresholds within 120-150 days. London Vault hemorrhaging. LBMA Vault holdings have decreased from 1.24 billion ounces to 595 million ounces since January 2024. A 52% reduction that represents the largest physical outflow in London is recorded history. The outflows correlate directly with increased Asian shipping manifests, showing silver bullion exports to Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Mumbai through intermediary channels that bypass normal commodity tracking systems. ETF physical drain. Major silver ETFs have experienced unprecedented redemptions as institutional investors demand physical delivery. SLV, iShares Silver Trust, down 167 million ounces, 38% of holdings. SIVR, Aberdeen Silver ETF, down 89 million ounces, 41% of holdings. PSLV, Sprott Physical Silver, actually gained 34 million ounces as investors flee paper ETFs. The redemption patterns suggest sophisticated investors understand the difference between ETFs that hold physical silver and those that hold paper claims on silver that may not exist. Chinese import surge. Official Chinese silver imports have increased 340% year over year. But this understates actual accumulation because significant volumes flow through Hong Kong, Singapore, and Swiss intermediaries that don't appear in direct China trade statistics. Cross-referencing shipping manifests, Swiss export data, and Hong Kong re-export statistics suggests Chinese silver accumulation exceeds 400 tons annually, roughly 45% of global mine production flowing to a single nation. Russian state accumulation. While official Russian silver import data remains classified, intelligence analysis suggests Russian state entities have accumulated 200 plus tons annually through direct purchases from producing nations and secondary market acquisitions. This accumulation occurs through Rosneft commodity trading divisions, state-owned banks, and strategic reserve programs that treat silver as critical infrastructure rather than investment commodity. The velocity decline, most critically, silver velocity. The rate at which silver changes hands between market participants has collapsed by 78% as Eastern buyers hold physical metal rather than trading it. This creates a one-way flow where silver enters Eastern custody permanently, while Western markets depend increasingly on synthetic paper supply to maintain trading volume and price discovery. The hidden mechanism, how paper manipulation enables physical drain. Understanding how Western banks subsidize their own wealth destruction requires grasping the sophisticated mechanisms through which paper price suppression actually facilitates maximum physical accumulation by foreign competitors. The subsidized accumulation effect. When JP Morgan dumps 10,000 paper silver contracts to drive prices from 32 to 29 per ounce, they are not just manipulating prices. They are providing Chinese buyers with 3 per ounce discounts on physical silver purchases. Every paper manipulation event that lowers prices allows Eastern buyers to accumulate maximum physical ounces per dollar spent. Western banks are essentially paying foreign competitors to drain Western silver reserves. The arbitrage invitation. Paper price suppression creates risk-free arbitrage opportunities for sophisticated buyers who understand the difference between synthetic supply and physical availability. When paper markets show silver at $29 while physical dealers quote $33, professional arbitrageurs buy COMEX contracts at $29, demand delivery, and sell the physical silver at $33. This arbitrage accelerates physical drain while forcing Western banks to source expensive physical silver to honor paper commitments. The industrial user advantage. Manufacturing companies that need silver for electronics, solar panels, and medical devices prefer buying during paper manipulation events because they obtain real silver at artificially discounted prices. These industrial buyers convert paper contracts to physical delivery systematically, removing silver from Western vaults while paying below market value due to manipulation that was intended to suppress investment demand. The storage cost elimination. Eastern buyers accumulating silver during paper manipulation events avoid storage costs by taking immediate delivery rather than holding expensive futures contracts. This creates cost advantages that compound over time as physical holders avoid monthly storage fees, while paper holders pay increasing carrying costs for contracts that may never be convertible to physical metal. The information asymmetry exploitation. Eastern buyers have superior information about their own accumulation activities, while Western banks operate with incomplete data about actual physical demand. Banks may see reduced COMEX inventory, but underestimate total Eastern accumulation because much occurs through private dealers, offshore intermediaries, and bilateral agreements that bypass public reporting requirements. The time arbitrage strategy. Eastern buyers understand that paper manipulation is temporary while physical scarcity is permanent. They maximize accumulation during artificial price suppression periods, knowing that eventual price resets will reward patience. This creates strategic advantages for buyers with long-term horizons over Western financial institutions focused on quarterly trading profits rather than strategic resource accumulation. Eruption scenario, the physical silver reset. Based on current drain rates, inventory levels, and manipulation patterns, here's how the transition from paper to physical price discovery will unfold. Phase 1, inventory crisis, next 3 to 6 months. COMEX. Registered silver falls below 25 million ounces as Eastern buying accelerates and mining production fails to replenish withdrawn inventory. Exchange implements delivery delays and administrative requirements to slow physical withdrawals, signaling that paper markets can no longer guarantee delivery at contract prices. Phase 2, arbitrage acceleration, 6 to 9 months. Professional arbitrageurs recognize guaranteed profits from buying paper contracts and demanding delivery for sale in Asian physical markets, showing 15 to 20 premiums over COMEX prices. Arbitrage activity overwhelms remaining Western inventories while forcing banks to source expensive international silver to honor delivery obligations, creating cascading losses on short positions. Phase 3, ETF breakdown, 9 to 12 months. Major silver ETFs suspend redemptions or implement cash settlement when they cannot source physical silver to satisfy institutional withdrawal requests. This destroys confidence in paper silver investments while confirming that synthetic silver claims cannot be converted to physical assets when demanded simultaneously by multiple holders. Phase 4, margin spiral, 12 to 15 months. Exchanges raise margin requirements, desperately trying to force long liquidation. But each margin hike accelerates physical buying by reducing leveraged speculation in favor of deliverable contracts. Banks face impossible choices: continue subsidizing foreign accumulation through manipulation, or allow natural price discovery that exposes decades of accumulated short positions. Phase 5, price reset, 15-18 months. Physical silver shortage becomes undeniable as industrial users face production delays due to material unavailability regardless of paper market pricing. Silver reprices violently from artificial paper levels, 30-40, to physical scarcity levels, 80-120, as markets abandon synthetic price discovery in favor of physical market clearing prices. The warning: the end of Western silver control. The physical silver drain represents more than commodity market dynamics. It represents the systematic transfer of monetary metals from declining Western economies to rising Eastern powers that understand the strategic importance of physical asset accumulation. For Western governments, silver shortage threatens industrial production and technology, renewable energy, and defense sectors that depend on silver inputs regardless of price. Strategic silver reserves are inadequate for sustained industrial operation during supply disruptions. Emergency responses require immediate domestic mining development, international supply agreements with genuine allies, and recognition that silver represents national security infrastructure rather than investment commodity. For Western banks, continued paper manipulation, while physical drain, accelerates guarantees eventual insolvency when delivery obligations exceed available inventory. Each manipulation event subsidizes competitor accumulation while increasing long-term losses. Survival strategies require ending short manipulation, accumulating physical reserves, and repositioning from price suppression to price discovery based on actual scarcity rather than synthetic abundance. For Western industries, business models assuming permanent silver availability at artificially suppressed prices become unsustainable when physical scarcity forces market-determined pricing. Companies dependent on silver inputs need strategic stockpiling, alternative material research, and supply agreements that guarantee physical delivery rather than paper price exposure. For individual investors, paper silver investments, ETFs, futures, allocated storage, face increasing probability of cash settlement rather than physical delivery when supply shortages make honoring metal commitments impossible. Physical silver ownership eliminates counterparty risk while providing direct exposure to scarcity value that paper substitutes cannot match when conversion becomes impossible. The timeline compression. Physical drain is accelerating beyond historical precedents due to coordinated Eastern accumulation combined with systematic Western inventory depletion. What typically required decades of gradual accumulation is occurring in 2 to 3 years due to strategic coordination between nations, building alternatives to Western financial dominance. The strategic recognition. Eastern silver accumulation is not investment strategy. It's economic warfare that uses Western paper manipulation against Western interests while building Eastern monetary and industrial advantages. This represents sophisticated understanding that physical assets provide strategic leverage, while paper promises create strategic vulnerability during international competition. The individual choice. For ordinary people, the silver drain provides clear evidence that physical ownership of real assets matters more than paper claims during systematic wealth transfers. Those who recognize the pattern and convert paper assets to physical silver benefit from both price appreciation and strategic positioning. Those who remain in paper systems discover that promises cannot substitute for possession when delivery becomes impossible. The ultimate reality? The physical silver drain cannot continue indefinitely because silver supplies are mathematically finite, while paper creation is mathematically infinite. When the drain reaches critical thresholds, estimated at 12-18 months based on current rates, the price reset will be immediate and permanent as markets abandon paper price discovery that no longer reflects physical reality. The manipulation era is ending not because banks choose to stop, but because they will lack the physical silver necessary to maintain credible claims that their paper contracts represent actual assets. Eastern buyers understand this timeline perfectly. They're maximizing accumulation during the final phase of artificial price suppression before physical scarcity forces price discovery based on actual supply and demand rather than synthetic market engineering. The race is simple. Accumulate maximum physical silver before Western paper markets lose the ability to deliver physical metal at manipulated prices. The drain is accelerating. The reset is approaching. The choice between paper promises and physical possession becomes more critical every day. Choose accordingly.